So let's start off this video. Let me ask you this question now. Would you be open to potentially seeing a new James Bond film with Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, George Lazenby starring in it again using deepfake technology? Now, one of the things I watch a lot of on YouTube when I've got, like, you know, a couple of minutes to spare, whatnot, is these amazing deepfake videos that people do. This whole technology of putting an actor's face on someone else and then seeing them what they'd be like in a movie. I just find it really interesting and quite sort of unique, and there has been some of these most amazing videos that have been done, and I just find the technology just so interesting, and the possibilities I think about this technology are potentially limitless in what it could do. Now, when it comes to the James Bond franchise, of course there's been some very famous deepfake videos on YouTube, such as, you know, Henry Cavill's face on Timothy Dalton, or Jim Carrey, or Harrison Ford as James Bond. There's been some of these really great deepfake videos, and I've loved, honestly, every single one of them. Have been so interesting. But it really actually got me thinking, could we actually use this technology legitimately in the franchise going forward? Essentially, what I'm suggesting is, could we have a future where we could see new Bond films but with old actors returning? Could we see a new Sean Connery Bond film, a new Roger Moore Bond film? Could we finally get the second George Lazenby James Bond film that so many of us wanted to see? I don't know. And looking into that as well, would the audiences and us Bond fans potentially accept it? And that's the question I really want to ask, and could this be done? But before we get into that, can I ask already, if you haven't subscribed, do consider subscribing to the channel. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers till the end of the year. Do like, comment and subscribe, and share the channel with you. But after all of that, let's get into the subject of, should we see deepfake old actors coming back in James Bond films? Now, how I see this technically being done is very much like how they do it now, where you get an actor who is of, if you say, similar build, height and general looks. Let's say, for instance, we find someone who's very akin to Sean Connery, and then obviously with the permission of their stage, you get someone like that, you deepfake their face onto this person, and obviously maybe get another voice artist who sounds like Sean Connery to do the voice, and essentially from that, this creation, this digital special effect creation, we could get a new Sean Connery Bond film. It could be set back in the 1960s, it could be set in present day. There's limitless possibilities of what could be done here, and to me, that's just potentially exciting. And let's just say they do this Bond film, it's a great success, and then they say, we're going to now deepfake a Roger Moore, we're going to do another Timothy Dalton, another Pierce Brosnan, heck, bring back Daniel Craig. Barbara Broccoli would love to do that. This could open potentially a whole new wave of different Bond films, as well as just always looking for a new actor to come along. Now, very famously, they have done two, in my opinion, very big budget deepfakes in the past. Now, the first one was obviously Peter Cushing in Rogue One. Obviously, they got an actor similar to Peter Cushing, and they deepfaked and CGI'd his face on that actor, and effectively, we got another great Peter Cushing performance. The other one I think very much stands to my mind is in Ghostbusters Afterlife, where we had Harold Ramis come back via deepfake as a ghost in the new Ghostbusters film. And my reaction to both of those is, honestly, I think they were really, really well done. I have a friend who actually didn't realise Peter Cushing was dead until after I told him after he saw Rogue One. He believed it that much. And I actually thought they did an incredibly good job. Obviously, it wasn't exactly Peter Cushing, but I still thought it was an amazing thing what they did there, and something so interesting and so unique. And again, I want to mention this, it opened up the doors of potential possibilities. And then in Ghostbusters Afterlife, I think they handled the character really well. Obviously he didn't speak in that film, but just physically being there and how the actor moved the CGI face on top of him and the way they interacted with people, it was done so well. It really did feel like at some points this really is the actor still acting today. So I think there's good premise that this deepfake technology can work, and it can be used really well if it's done in the right way and with the right spirit and respect. Also, right off the bat, just think about what actually this deepfake technology could do. A lot of us have always said we really wish we could have had that, if you will, third Timothy Dalton James Bond film, or that fifth James Bond Pierce Brosnan film. It's something we've always potentially wanted. And actually, if you think about it, deepfake technology could give us that. You could get Timothy Dalton back and de-age him and use a bit of deepfake technology to give us that potential third James Bond Timothy Dalton film, that property late film we never got. Or you could use the same technology and a bit of de-aging on Pierce Brosnan and give us that fifth Pierce Brosnan film, that one after Die Another Day, where we all said he needed something a bit more grounded, his For Your Eyes Only. The deepfake technology can give us that. So my answer to that as well is, let me answer you this question. If that deepfake technology could do that, would you accept that? Me personally, I would absolutely love to see that possibly happening. I've always said that when Amazon bought MGM, one of the things I'd love them to do, if possible, was to give us maybe an animated Timothy Dalton lost James Bond film. I think that could be just absolutely amazing. And if they could maybe even decide, you know what, we're going to spend X amount of money, smaller budget, but give us a deepfake, younger Timothy Dalton, third James Bond film, and bring Timothy Dalton back again and just use that technology in the de-aging. Or again, with Pierce Brosnan for a fifth James Bond film. I think we would go bananas about that, and it could open so many more doors. Heck, you could actually now have a Casino Royale with Sean Connery. You could have a Timothy Dalton film for just Goldeneye if you wanted. There are so many possibilities with this technology. But should it be used?
No, you had. You patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You're selling it.
From my perspective alone, I see the real negative side of this technology summed up in two big arguments against the use of deepfake. Now, the first one is obviously it could be considered quite insensitive to the actors' families and the actors' fans. Can you imagine if they made like this really, really bad movie and you deepfake this actor of like great importance, say a Sean Connery, into this film? It would be slightly slurring his image, and it also might upset a lot of fans with that as well. You have to take that into consideration as well. And I think the other big con against this technology is how it will basically destroy a lot of up and coming rising stars' potential. Now, it's incredibly hard to get anywhere in this industry, certainly for an actor. And can you imagine, not only you have to compete with all the other up and coming rising stars, you would have to compete with all the other old actors who have just been and gone, because people were just saying, well, we could get a new person in. Nah, we'll just get one of the old great people we know everyone loves. You know, instead of finding a new James Bond, we could just get another Sean Connery Bond movie. Yeah, that's a safe bet. I want to list now in this video my potential pros and cons to using the deepfake technology with the James Bond series, because there are pros and cons. So without further ado, let me present you all my pros for the reasons of using deepfake technology with the James Bond franchise. My first pro would be seeing your favourite actor again in a new James Bond film. I think that's something really, really exciting to me. As I just mentioned, I would love to see another Pierce Brosnan James Bond film, and this technology could do it. And I know so many other people who would say, I'd love to see another Roger Moore Bond film, another Connery Bond film. And this technology can give us this. Yes, it won't be exactly, but it could finally sort of, if you will, quelch that urge of wishing, oh, I wish we could have had that sequel to On Her Majesty's Secret Service with George Lazenby, or that other great Pierce Brosnan movie. Those are the possibilities. My second reason is that no one is properly doing this yet with any franchise about bringing old actors back. And there is a bit of a should they not with this, which is a fair point. But Bond's franchise particularly has a richness and a real great legacy and history to explore to use this technology. What if they decide to do a small, for Amazon Prime, hour-long version of Casino Royale, but you actually got to put Sean Connery in a 1950s setting? That, I think, could be potentially really interesting. Or even so, one day where you might have films where you can actually select which actor you want to have in that movie. You could choose which Bond film you watch, and thanks to the deepfake technology, you could have any actor be in that film. My third reason, again, which I've already mentioned previously, but I want to mention here as I think is a pro, it could give us that potential third Timothy Dalton James Bond film, that Property of a Lady, and also that potential fifth Brosnan film, that more harder edge, if you will, his For Your Eyes Only. I think fans are desperate to see what these potentially could have been, and the deepfake technology could allow it. So those are my pros, but as I said, there are some cons as well, and we need to look over the cons of this as well. My first con is something I've mentioned, but I want to go into a bit more detail here, is that it could be seen as insensitive. Obviously, people have been talking about bringing old actors from the dead back and saying, is it right, is it not right? And I'm not one to make a casting decision on that. All I'm saying is I really do understand how people think it could be considered insensitive, and it couldn't potentially give new actors a chance to really shine when we're just going back to our old legends. Another con I really see is, once again, people know it's not really them. I've talked about how great it would be to see potentially another Sean Connery movie, etc. But the truth of the matter is, even though it would be great seeing them in a way on the big screen, people know it's not really them, and people might just react to that. It's just an imitation Sean Connery. It's just an imitation Roger Moore. You've got to take that, I feel, into consideration as well. My last big con of this argument is it's not actually really moving forward. The Bond series has a great history of being relevant, being up to date, moving forward with the times, being relevant. And could it be seen as if you're just relying on your old legends, not really progressing forward? Yes, an anti-argument to that would be, we're using modern technology to give audiences something new. But that's really more just going back and reliving past glories in a whole brand new way. So overall, yes, I do see that there are pros and cons to this argument. I think they're all really, really great. And if I'm absolutely honest, I am not 100% on one side of the fence. I see the pros and I see the cons. The problem is, a bit like you could say with John Hammond in Jurassic Park, if you will, the tease, the temptation of it is really enticing to me, because I would love to see potentially another great Bond film by Sean Connery to a degree, or another great Timothy Dalton, Brosnan, Moore, Lazenby. It really is potentially exciting to me. And this technology is great because, again, it's shown us to a degree like what Henry Cavill might look like as James Bond, what Jim Carrey could have looked like as Bond, what Harrison Ford would. The technology is really great in just, if you will, exciting the imagination. And this is, to me, why I have made this video, because this whole debate whether deepfake should be used or not, and bringing back old actors who have died, relive them again in a new film, it is exciting the imagination, making me think, what if they did do this? So I want to invite you all now into this debate and argument, and let me ask you right off the bat, what do you feel about deepfake technology, and would you like to see it being used in the Bond series? So I want to know, comment down below and tell me your thoughts about all of this. As always, everyone, my name is Henry, and this has been the Bond Geek. Goodbye.